Hey guys, this is Verneer for cardowners.com. So today we are going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to talk about what to open from middle position, and I'll give lots of examples of small pocket pairs and medium pocket pairs, how I played different situations. So first of all, what to open from middle position. ABC opening range, the green stuff I'm opening almost always from middle position. The orange stuff is situation dependent. So once again, you want to adjust based on how aggressive are the middle position cutoff and buttons. If they're very aggressive, then you want to open a tighter range. If you have fish in the blinds, then you want to open a wider range. I would say it kind of gives you a range of ranges. King 10 open, definitely King 10 offset, I should say, definitely marginal open from middle position. But if you have bad players in the blinds, it becomes a pretty good one. So I'm gonna go over small pocket pairs and medium pocket pairs. But before I do that, I want to show you guys the graph for. So here's my graph for small pocket pairs from middle position. As you can see, a lot of it is just kind of ebb and flow, and I hit the occasional set, and that's when I end up getting paid. So that's pretty much what small pocket pairs are good for, is hitting sets and extracting value. With the occasional bluff, so my red line's fairly break even just because I'm, raising and c-betting the occasional flop. Now, the medium pocket pairs, before I go into the examples. Much smaller sample size, but these should be winning at a much higher rate. So I am winning at a higher win rate. It's smaller sample size, so it's not as evident. Looks like I was break even for quite a while, which makes me think that I misplayed quite a few hands, and I guess I'll go into that. But that kind of gives you some perspective on how these hands play from the different positions. So let's get to the examples. Now, I'm going to, as we have before, look at different kind of hand groups. And I'll start with small pocket pairs because I think they're the easiest to play. The two key things to keep in mind here is to focus on extracting value when you actually hit. The problem is the hands are very hit or miss. So if you miss, you're mostly done, unless you can take a cheap stab at a ace high flop with rag. But your main thing is just extracting value for when you hit. There's going to be a couple bluffs that I'll include in these hands. I picked out 16 hands. But for the most part, I'll just talk about extracting value. All right, so pocket sevens, multi-way flop. I flop the world. I think this is an okay spot to. I think slow playing here is perfectly fine, but against three other people betting a third of the pot, just to get some action, I think is reasonable too. The turn is a 4, which is great because now I have an overboat. And I think checking here is the right play. Let them either catch up, or in this case, they end up betting. What do you bet? I check raised just because I think it's going to be seen as kind of a fishy play. And I'm just putting him on tens or jacks here, and I don't think he's going to fold a full house. It's like the Zebo theorem where I have quads. I don't really have quads, but I've got an overboat. And he ends up calling, and the river is great. And I just end up shipping it in, and he ends up calling me with pocket nines. So a guy with pretty reasonable stats. Just my line, I guess, was pretty fishy on the turn, and he decided to get curious. Next hand, deuces. I'm gonna call here because it's $5 to call and we're deep enough to worth continuing. So flop a set, he bets, I raise, he ships, I call, and he gets there. But pre-flop, out of position, I don't advocate set mining all that much, but against someone who, I mean, it was like $5 to play a $250 pot. You know, potentially, it's totally worth it. All right, next hand, pocket sevens versus a early position raiser. Definitely just a flat. Great flop for me. Decide to slow play it. I have almost a lock on the hand. So now I decide to check raise it because I'm just looking to get value. I want to take initiative in the hand. So he like 3-bets the flop. And I think at this point, flatting is the thing that makes the most sense. I check the turn. He bets like half the pot. So I'm just going to check raise again. And he goes all in. And I call and he shows the 2-3. This is definitely one of those hands where I looked back at it and I felt like I extracted absolutely the maximum amount of value. I just don't even, I don't understand this play. On the turn, I think I should be just check calling. Like there's no reason for me to check raise the turn. So I actually think I misplayed it. Pocket fours. I bet he raises. I flat because I'm in position. And I think out of position, I'd be 3-betting that flop. Very safe card for me. And by 3-betting, I overplay my hand. I don't overplay my hand when I 3-bet. It's going to be difficult for him to continue if I 3-bet that flop. So in position, I should be calling. Out of position, I think 3-betting is fine. So he leads pretty strong on the turn. Now I'm in raise just to extract value. He ships it, I call. And he had the combo draw. Yeah, I mean, once he bets that much, it seems like he likes his hand. So I'm just going to commit myself. Pocket fives. Bet, he raises. Out of position, this is not a board I want to slow play. So I 3-bet. He ships, I call, and he had the bottom set. So just showing the difference between in position and out of position. And the different board textures. This is a board where another card can put 4 to a straight. So, or, like one more card to a straight. Any 6, any 4 could kill the action. So if he has a hand like pocket 9s or pocket queens and he's overplaying it, I want to continue betting this flop. I want to continue barreling. Next hand, pocket 4s. So definitely want to bet here to protect my hand. He raises. So I'm not buying it at this point. I check, he checks back. The river's a 4. I check in order to check raise, and that's it. So on the flop, I'm just not buying his raise. If he barrels the turn, probably have to, well, he's pretty aggressive. So I've got to decide. I think the river, once it goes check, check, I think the river's like a mandatory check again. Just because I think he has air on the flop very often. So not a flop I want to bet into 2 other players. There's just a lot of different hands that can peel me. And a lot of hands, a lot of made hands, lots of draws. I just don't have much equity. But on the turn I do. So get led small here. Definitely going to raise for value to protect my hand against draws and extract value from worse. He calls. put in a bet that I think a one pair type hand is going to call on the river. So I think too big is going to be too scary. And he calls me with ace king. Pocket fives. I don't know why I limped. Might have been a misclick. But definitely leading that flop. Get min raised. So this is a spot. I wonder if this is. Oh, I didn't. I min raised. I'm sorry. I was used to. I guess this is a 50-L hand. Yeah. So this is not a spot where I want to slope play. So now I'm just extracting value, and I end up getting there on the river, or I end up just shipping it all in on the river. All right, pocket sevens. It's kind of interesting. So this guy's really aggressive. So I c-bet that to protect my hand, and he like raises, but I think this is a spot where, yeah, he would raise a set, but he's so aggressive, he's going to be raising air a lot there. So I decide to min 3-bet, and as you know, like I would definitely be fast playing my sets in this spot. But I just think he's full of it, and he ends up folding. So versus a nit, I would never do this, but versus a very loose, very active, and very aggressive player, I think 3-betting this flop is fine. Pocket fives. Definitely have a draw. This is a spot where I like check calling because if I don't see a lot of value in betting because players will often have an ace here and they'll, I'm just betting into an ace, betting into a straight, or they might have a 6 and then I get raised and then it's difficult. So I would much rather check call and hope to fill up on the river. So he bets, I call, and the river just goes check, check, and he's got pocket nines. So I don't like his turn bet. I think I'll have an ace myself very frequently, and he's just going to be value. He's just going to be, value owning himself. Pocket sevens. Great flop versus a shorty. I decide to slow play it. Can't slow play it on the turn anymore. Great river. I think it's a good spot to shove. So I just bet 12. Meh. I think I could overbet. Shove that. Hope to get looked up by an ace. But I like slow playing that against the short stack who's playing loose just to have him, stab at it. If he has an ace, he's not folding anyhow. But I think check raising will be more effective. Deuces. So I know in a lot of these I'm flopping sets, but I kind of picked them out just because I want to talk about different ways of extracting value in different situations. All right, so in this spot, I decide to check in order to check raise because I think he's going to be stabbing a lot, and he ends up folding. I think this flop, he's not going to be folding any Broadway, so I want to check raise and get value. And just put more money in against hands like King Jack, Queen Jack, King Queen, whatever. One pair type hands, 7-8. There's just so many different hands he can play. I want to start pumping money in. Pocket fours. Draw a flop against a nit. I decide to check. And check raise. So this sometimes with a hand like ace king, I'll check that flop. So I want to be able to check raise this flop as well. So I like doing it with sets. Pocket sixes. He donk leads. Just raise him because I think he very seldom has a hand here, and he's just putting out like a feeler bet with, I don't even know, nines maybe, if that, and he ends up folding. So I know back in the day, like raising donk bets was like an automatic thing. But on this board, he's just not going to have anything. Two more hands. Versus this min 3-bet, definitely calling out of position. Just have great odds. Great flop for me. Not going to slow play that. Get it all in. And definitely losing my my 96% there. But most of the time you should be folding pre-flop to a 3-bet with a small pocket pair. But for that price, it's a pretty easy continue. So basically, $3 in order to play a huge pot. Last hand, pocket sixes. Bet pretty big with a drivey board. Get raised. I end up shoving here, which I'm not crazy about. Basically repping a draw with a shove. But I can raise smaller and still get the same effect. So not really sure. I guess shoving here represents more of a draw than anything else. But the guy ended up having just a monster draw and ended up getting there. I actually had 60% equity on the flop, but against anything else, he's doing very well. Unless I have like ace 6. Actually, let me think. I think ace 5 of spades or ace 10 of spades. I'll block a lot more of his outs, but ended up losing a flip. But this is a board where I don't want to slow play that, but I don't think shoving's necessarily the right play either. So small pocket pairs, as you can see, you're mostly looking to hit. When you hit, you're looking to extract. Other than that, with an occasional small bluff. But most of the time, if you miss, c-bet once on good flops, and after that, you're going to be done. So now I'm going to talk about mid-pocket pairs from middle position. 8s through jacks. They have a lot more showdown value than small pocket pairs, but often still play best as sets. So let's look at the hands. Combination of 50 no limit and 100 no limit. So pocket 8s, I get 3-bet. We are deep enough to call here. 3 jack 2. It goes check, he bets, and I call. Turn is a jack, definitely a good enough card for us. He goes check, check, and the river's a king. I check. He bets 13. And at this point, I decide that I might have the best hand, but I decide to shove it here instead of calling because I could certainly fold out a king. And if he has a bluff, then I'm winning it anyhow. But there's a chance that he might fold out a king because I might have a set or a jack looks very plausible here. So at the time, I just decided that there's more value in shoving this river than it is in just flatting, and he ends up folding. So I might have had the best hand, or I might have, or he might have had a king. But pocket 8s again. I flat. It goes multi-way. Great flop for us. I decided to slow play it just because there's limited draws here. Turn is a king, so don't want to slow play it anymore. 2 players call, and the river's a 9, and I put in a... I should bet bigger here, closer to 21. And the villain shoves here. So, what can he do this with that I beat? I beat 4s. I beat King Jack. I don't think he has a bluff here. But Queen 10 makes a lot of sense. I ended up folding. Just something felt off about this hand, in retrospect, when I was looking back, I was kind of surprised that I folded. But I think at the time, I couldn't think of a hand that I can beat. Like, I think he's never bluffing here. And he might have pocket nines as well, though it would be kind of a weird way to play pocket nines. But queen 10 just made the most sense, so I ended up folding. Pocket tens. 4, 5, 7. I bet. Villain calls. The turn, I'm just going to keep betting to get value from things like 4, 8, like 4, 6, 7, 6, etc. I bet. And he puts in a substantial raise. And at this point, I'm just going to give him credit and fold. I know he's got kind of crazy stats, but I think if he has a pair and a draw, more often than not, he's just going to be check calling again. I think when he check raises, he's got some kind of a weird 2-pair or better. So, but I like betting that king again. I think that's like a mandatory bet. Jacks. I flat in position to a 3-bet from the small blind. He bets. I call. Pretty harmless card comes on the turn. So he bets again. And at this point, I decided to give him credit on this point. Like, this is a really bad double barrel card for him. He should not expect me to fold. So when he continues being aggressive here, being a fairly straightforward tag just from what I've seen so far, I'm going to give him credit. So I end up folding the turn here. Tens. King 2-2. I bet he raises, which I don't really know why he raises here, but I make the call in position. The turn goes check, check, and the river's a blank, and he fires, and I end up calling, and he has the nut blocker. So just his raise here made no sense, and I continued with the hand in position. Pocket tens again. I just end up shoving versus a kind of a crazy stat 50 big blind villain. I think I would shove with ace, queen, and tens here. And he ends up having nines. So playing very much just versus his stats. Pocket tens again. We go to the flop 3-way. Bet. Everybody calls. With the 2 on the turn, so I bet 16. I should be betting much bigger. I should be betting closer to 22 or 23. Because it seems like both of them have draws. They both call. Definitely should be betting bigger on the turn. And kind of a small bet on the river. I feel like I lost quite a bit of value with my small bet sizing here. The villain has aces here. But I don't like my turn bet. I think river betting smaller-ish is okay because most likely has like a jack, like an ace jack or a king jack, and just can't call a big bet. But I think the turn should be much bigger. Pocket jacks. Good flop for us. Bet. He calls. On the turn, I'm going to... I definitely want to raise the turn here and charge him for his draws. And I think I should bet bigger. I think I should bet 20-ish. He calls. And I end up just value betting the river and he folds. But I think I should bet bigger on the turn to charge him. Pocket jacks versus the Wizards of Odds. Definitely calling in position here. Once he checks, I bet he calls, turns to 3. I should bet again here. 25 bucks would be good. A check back, and the river goes check check, and he has top pair, top kicker. But yeah, some of these hands that I've seen, I just played the turns. I played too passively for what I like. Pocket jacks definitely calling in position or out of position. I check call the flop. Ace king is very much a possibility. When the jack comes, I decide to lead. I think he's often going to check this through. So if he has aces, if he has kings, if he has ace king, I don't think he's folding any of those if I lead, but he might check them back. So if I'm putting him on a strong range here, then I think leading here allows me to ship the river, but he ends up folding. But I still like my lead on the turn here. I don't want him to check this back. And I think more often than not, he'll have a piece here. Pocket tens, flatting and under the gun. Raise from a regular, I think that's pretty straightforward. 7-8 king, he bets, pretty straightforward call. Check, check. And the 10 comes on the river, and once he leads, I don't see too much value in raising. I can raise fold, I suppose, to get value from like an ace king or a king queen. So I actually think a raise fold would be good here to something like 25, but I end up just flatting into ace jacks. The issue is if I raise, then I expect him to fold hands like ace king or king queen. I don't expect him to bet fold those. So by raising, I'm at value on myself. All right, nines. So in retrospect, I'm okay flatting here with the pocket tens. All right, good flop. Bet $8. Get one call. King comes on the turn. I'm going to bet again, continue getting value. I get check raised here. So I think king queen, jack 10 obviously, pocket sixes, but I just decide that versus his whole range, I am good more often than not. So I ship it, and he shows me the jack 10. I think queens for sure I'm shipping on the turn. Nines versus a nit, I think calling the raise on the turn I think is okay. He had less than a full stack too, so I think that played into my decision to ship the turn. I essentially lose to one hand, and like I said, both sixes and king queen I'm ahead of. Pocket jacks, bet, and against, so him raising the king here, this is one of those spots where, so I end up folding, where he's raising a card that should be good for me. I think calling here is okay too. I think at the time I just decided that if he's raising a card that should be good for me in position, that might mean that he's got king beat. I mean, often it means that if they're raising a card that you're repping, it means they have that card beat. So versus a relatively passive player, even though I don't have a lot of hands on him, I just decided to let this one go. So I think if it's a leak folding there, I don't think it's a big leak. Pocket tens versus a very small raise, very deep, pretty easy call. Check call. Check call again. and take it down. So pretty straightforward check call down there. The jacks, I mean, he's certainly going to be barreling a lot of air on that jack. Pocket jacks, pretty straightforward. Although, no, that should be a 3-bet for sure versus a 65-35. Maybe I didn't have a lot of hands on him at the time. But yeah, that should definitely be a raise for value. Flop middle set. They both call. Bet pretty big here. I should bet probably even bigger. Like 24. Both call again. Pretty bad river card. And now, once I face a bet and a call, it's a pretty easy fold. And they both had the king. So kings versus ace-king. Bet the flop for sure. Pre-flop, I think it should have been a 3-bet versus a 65-35. But like I said, I don't think I had enough hands on him at the time. Flop, I like a bet. Turn, I like a bigger bet. And river is just a check fold. Pocket tens versus a 30-24 player squeezing. I'm going to ship and feel pretty good about it. And unfortunately, he had aces there. But yeah, that definitely good enough hand versus his stack size and his stats to be shipping. Pocket nines. Multi-way, definitely calling. So I'm going to check to the pre-flop raiser. And he bets. Both players call. Now I definitely want to raise. Decide to raise to 30. I'm definitely raising here. And I think the raise size is, I mean, I guess I could go 32 or 34. But I think it's okay. The net calls, turn is a 9, my hand is a lock. So now I check. I decided to check it back, although I think a small bet would be good here. But I just decide to let him get there if he's drawing. So the 7 gets there, and now I just decide to ship it. So I don't think checking back the turn is all that bad when the 9 comes. But I think a small bet might be reasonable as well. Let me see on the turn. $24. I mean, a fourth of the pot. I think it's fine. Last hand, pocket jacks versus a short stack. I check. He bets. I call. I check. He checks. And I'm going to hope I check call the river. So just on a queen high board, just decide versus a bad short stack player that a check call is going to be worth more than just trying to bet. So that's it for this episode of Building a Bankroll 2014. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know. So until next time, for cardrunners.com, this has been Verneer. Good luck at the tables, guys.